I've never done this before, but I thought it'd be fun to celebrate release day of the Jinni Key with a video where I look back on the process of writing and publishing this book from start to finish, from like outlining it all the way to today, to publishing day. I don't know the future, so that's the end goal. If you haven't got your copy, the links are below, along with the beautiful subscribe button and all that jazz, so you know what to do. I trust you. You got this. If you already pre-ordered, it's probably in the mail on its way to you, which is also a crazy thought. I want to share things like word count and like how long it took me from start to finish and how I felt about the whole thing, how I planned this series, how many drafts I did, how I edited, and all the different people that were involved in making this book what it is today, because it was by no means just me, and it's just such a process. So I wanted to share kind of like a big picture look at the writing and self-publishing process. And it's going to be like more personal and more about the writing versus yesterday's Q&A was more about the story itself. And so it's going to be new information, and I hope this will encourage you in your writing journey, because that's kind of my goal here, is to share, like, before I say anything else, every book is different. This particular journey looks nothing like any of my other books, but I don't know, I hope that some things will be encouraging to you and maybe eye-opening. And so yeah, let's just dive into it. All right, so number one would be coming up with the story idea. And I won't go into super detail because like yesterday's video, I talk about that. I've talked about that in other videos. I will link them below in case you want to know like more about the conception of this story. But when it came to actually sitting down and outlining, I used a book called Save the Cat Writes a Novel. My critique partner, Bethany and I have an entire series on this book and how we use it, which I will also link below because it is fantastic. This book took my writing to the next level. I am an English major. I spent my entire college education learning how to write. That was what I went to school for, and yet I feel like I learned more from this book than my entire college education. That's how much I love this book. Okay, we're gonna put it back. I came up with the Jinni Key and all 4 books in the series really kind of all at once, because it's actually kind of one big story. So I think it was just like in like 1 to 2 weeks of kind of scheming and thinking over the story idea before I started writing it. I've said this before, I went with my favorite retellings, but I've never actually explained why 4 books. You guys are gonna laugh. It wasn't a emotional, like I had a gut feeling about this kind of choice. It was very much a business choice. I mean, there was still some creativity to it, because once you know that you love a world and you love the characters in that world, of course you want to keep writing them. So it is about being creative and enjoying the writing process, but it is also very much a business choice, because just as much as I, the author, would enjoy continuing a story that I love, readers enjoy continuing a story that they love as well. So you know that if you write something that's really solid and intrigues readers and they like the first book, that they're going to want more in that series. I know that I do. I always want my favorite series to continue, and I wish there were more. I have heard that the idea is that readers really get hooked in around the 3rd book, and that, you know, if you can do like a 10-book series, awesome. But I had trouble envisioning that, because even the idea of 4 books seemed like a lot to me. So I was like, okay, I want to do somewhere around 3 to 5. I want to do more than 3, because readers really start to get hooked into the story around book 3, and that's when they'll continue reading no matter what. And so I was like, well, I want to do more than 3, but it sounds kind of overwhelming to do more than that, honestly, because I also wanted to do the fast release where I write them all and then publish in fast succession. So I didn't want to, you know, create a 10-book series where it would take me years to publish. So I was like, how about we do 4? So it really was just like picking a number, and then I had to go in and try to figure out which fairy tale would work for each book. So if you guys don't know this, I was using the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer as kind of my foundation for the how-to part of this, like how to mesh fairy tales together, because I love how she does it in the Lunar Chronicles. And so each book is a different fairy tale, but they all are in the same world, same characters, and they mesh together. So that's a really hard ask. And so I found that out very quickly. Like I said in yesterday's video, I started with my favorites, but when not all of my favorites would work, I had to stop and be like, okay, what other fairy tales are there that would jive with this story and they would mesh with the story? And like I said yesterday, I found one in particular that had very similar characters, and it just flowed together with the other books. And so it was very much about trying things and plugging them into the outline of the actual story that I wanted to see if it would fit. And that leads to the first draft, which I now think was more of a zero draft because it was garbage. And I say that lovingly because all first drafts are garbage. Just being honest with you guys, like, we all need to edit. Everyone needs to edit. But this was even more garbage than my other first drafts, which is why I realized that it's more of what they call a zero draft, where you just almost like outlining creatively and you're like, what might happen? What could happen? And it's not really what you're gonna go with, and you almost fully rewrite it. But I didn't know that at the time. So on October 1st was the first email that I sent to myself, because every time that I draft something, I try to send it to myself in an email, because it's like copyright protection and it's like backing up your work, and it's just something I now do pretty much every day because I'm paranoid and I always want to make sure that I don't lose what I was working on in case my computer crashes. So I was backing it up on October 1st was the first day that I sent a couple paragraphs to myself for both book 2 and book 3. And then I really didn't do much throughout October. I think I only had like 2 or 3 other emails that I sent to myself with a couple more ideas, maybe another page or 2. And then in November 2018, this became my NaNoWriMo novel. So this was almost fully written during NaNoWriMo. I know that I did get to the 50K, but I also know that the story wasn't quite finished. I think it had somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 words left, or not even. It had so little left, but I had burned myself out, very similar to this year actually, just pushing too hard. And so I barely wrote it all in December. Like, I just crashed and burned. And then you can see in my emails again, because that's how I track like when I was working on stuff, you can see that I caught myself and I was like, this book is almost done. What am I doing? I need to just finish the dang thing. I did a couple more days of work in December, and then I finished the first draft on January 1st, 2019. Then I'm looking at my email again. I went to the Stolen Kingdom and I actually started working on finding an editor. I worked on editing the first book in the series, and then it looks like in January, I started kind of writing and drafting the first draft of book 3. And so it looks like all of February was a mix of editing the first book in the series and drafting book 3. So I didn't touch the Jinni key at all in February. And then in March, I started drafting book 4 in the series. Also in March, I started the cover design. And so maybe someday I will share a story of the cover design. If you ever want to talk to me about the cover design, definitely feel free to message me and we can chat. It was a process because we did all 4 books at once. And so the company that I hired started by designing book 1, and I was very picky and I waffled around. And so when we finally figured out book 1, we then went on to do the next 3 books in the series. Once all was said and done, I can definitely say that this is my favorite cover in the series. It's very close. They're kind of neck and neck, but I think it might be because of the castle, or maybe the moon, or maybe the water, or maybe the tagline, or maybe this everything. I just really, really love this cover. The color even is super unique and beautiful, but the cover design was a little bit stressful, and just figuring it out, it took months. And technically they're still not done because until I can give my cover designer the final page count for the books, she can't make the spine the exact width that it needs to be. And I also need to give her the final blurbs for the 3rd and 4th book. So the 3rd and 4th book, I have the front cover and I have a general idea of the beautiful back covers. They're also, oh my gosh, they're so gorgeous, but I don't fully have them finished yet, and they probably won't be finished until book 4. So that's a crazy thought, and it feels really weird to have like bought them and paid for them, but not to fully have them finished. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I'm looking at my email, and keep in mind that this is the Jinni key that we're talking about. In April and May, I didn't touch it. I didn't do a thing. I was working on editing book 1, which I guess makes sense because I was publishing book 1 in August. So I was like, gotta get on it, let's get going. And I got very focused on book 1 because it turns out my other thing that I have realized throughout this whole process is that I cannot do multiple books at a time. I know that other people can, I know that it's possible, but I can't do it. I cannot physically mentally and emotionally do it. I can't wrap my mind around it. I'm either like focus on this book or I focus on that book. There's no exceptions, which is frustrating, but that's how I roll. So it probably won't surprise you that in June, I didn't touch the Jinni key again. I remember I went to BookCon, I was very focused on that, and I kind of like leading up to it, and I think somewhere around that time I sent it to my editor. Oh, it looks like in July I sent it to my editor. So in June I was finishing it up, July I sent it to my editor, and then July was another Camp NaNoWriMo. So I remember I was like, I want to finish the series. I haven't finished the series yet, and I wanted to have, you know, the full series done before I published book 1 because I wanted to kind of know my ending. So in July, I actually decided to write book 4 in the series, and I still haven't finished this. I've told you guys I still have probably the last 5,000 words, that's it. And I still haven't finished it because I'm terrified to like find out I screwed up the ending or something, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. All that to say, I didn't finish the Jinni key in July either. Oh yeah, it's coming back to me now why I didn't actually finish book 4 at this point either. So I was doing the camp and I was almost at the end of book 4 when I started talking to a book box, the Once Upon a Book Club box, which is this amazing subscription box that sends out monthly like packages, really cool packages for readers with like a book and a bunch of stuff centered around the book. And the cool thing about this book box is that they will buy gifts that relate to the book and correlate with that. So I will link my unboxing of that below because I did do the Once Upon a Book Club box and The Stolen Kingdom was in a book box, you guys, and that is still blowing my mind. That experience was beyond cool, but the fact that they had to order it about, I think it was like almost a month early that I had to get it ordered for them to make sure they get it on time, that they could package it and then they could mail it out right around release day, meant that I suddenly had to finish The Stolen Kingdom an entire month early. So I dropped my idea of being about to edit the Jinni key and my idea of finishing the 4th book in the series. I just dropped everything to work on The Stolen Kingdom and finish it. And so that's why I stopped working on book 4 and I never went back to it to this day, which is horrible because that was July. You'll notice that I have yet to say that I started editing the Jinni key. What's going on? So I published August 20th, The Stolen Kingdom, and I had been setting up the pre-orders for the Jinni key at that time because I wanted to put them in the back of book 1, and I also wanted to put an excerpt in the back of book 1. So it was right around the end, the middle, early August, don't ask me when. This is horrible. It was whenever I was finishing up for the book box, which I think would have been maybe actually July, that I did edit just the first chapter of the Jinni key because I wanted to include it at the end of book 1 in The Stolen Kingdom. And I've since then edited it more, so that's another story for another day. But it was right around this point when I had pre-order set up and I had put the date, December 3rd. I put it on Amazon, I put it on Barnes & Noble, I put it on, you know, Kobo and Apple and all the retail sites. I had a pre-order for December 3rd. It was at that point, right after release, that instead of relaxing after the panic of getting The Stolen Kingdom ready and all the work of the release, instead of relaxing, I panicked and I was like, I have to have the Jinni key out in 3 months. 3 months. What was I thinking? What is wrong with me? I hadn't touched it at all. I had only edited that first chapter. I think if I had done a better job of planning things out and, you know, nothing had gone wrong and all my timelines had synced up, I would have probably edited the Jinni key like 2 or 3 times by this point. I even brought it to the Wander Writers Retreat because I wanted to do my fast read through edit during that retreat, and I still didn't do more than like 6 pages. This is where things start to get crazy. Right around after the Wander Writers Retreat, I still hadn't done this, and then I had to do the release. So right after the release, like I said, I panicked. I dove right into fast read through edits and read through this entire thing super fast. I put all my changes in there and I sent the first, well, technically the second draft to Brittany, to my critique partner, Brittany Wang. And she read the whole thing super fast, and she sent me all her like big picture notes and edits. And I then immediately dove into all of September into editing. I'm gonna put that back. I don't need to hold it this whole time. So all of September I was going through and editing and going through again and going through again and going through again. Oh my gosh, I forgot how crazy this was. And I'm looking at my email because like I said, I send myself every single day that I work on a project, I will email it to myself and I'll usually put in the subject line where I'm at. So I'm looking at this insanity in my inbox, you guys, for the fantasy series folder. After I sent it to Brittany, I only took a few days off as long as it took her to read it. And as soon as she sent it back to me, I did like, I think 2 or 3, long edits all the way through, and then I sent it to my beta readers. And I just sent it to them and I was like, hey guys, this is my time frame. I'm insane. Like, I owned up to it. I was like, this is so stupid, and I know that I'm asking a lot of you, and I kind of sent this, I think, a few weeks earlier just to kind of feel it out and ask them if they're okay doing this. And I was like, hey, so can you guys read it in a week? Like, is that doable? Is that insane? Like, normally I give my beta readers 4 weeks to read, and even that I feel like is a lot of work because they have lives, they have, other things to do. They have their own stories to write, and they're such amazing people. So the beta readers for the Jinni Key are literally lifesavers, and I just want to shout them out in this video. I actually want to shout out their names. All right, I pulled up my acknowledgements page from the Jinni Key so that I can make sure I don't miss anybody, and I wrote it kind of snarky and silly, so if you want to check that out later, have fun with that. But I wanted to make sure that I gave a shout out to Amelia Nichelle, Athena Marie, Emma Woodham, Elizabeth Ham, Kira Hunter, Leah Anderson, Peggy Spencer, and Valerie Wheeler. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and my critique partners, which I'll talk about in a minute, and my proofreaders have been amazing. Like, you guys, I'm gonna tear up talking about them because it meant so much to me that they all read it and they didn't like say no. They didn't be like, you know what, Bethany, you can't ask me to do that. They said, yeah, let's do it. And like the fact that I have all of these people in my life to help me and make sure that my stories are amazing, it's making me tear up. Why are you guys doing this to me? So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It means so much to me. And like I said at the beginning of this video, there's no way that I could do a good book on my own. Like I can't even speak, could write a good novel on my own. There's so many things that I didn't see. There's so many things that I was completely oblivious to. There's so many character flaws and world building issues and plot holes that they caught. And you guys, hey beta readers, just FYI, the whole second half of the novel is fully rewritten thanks to you. Like, you helped me realize that ending wasn't gonna cut it. And so I have rewritten it because of you. So I hope you go check it out, and I hope that you like it. I really hope that you like it. If you could see this, I don't know if I wanna show you this. I might show you a screenshot, but I basically edited the whole book in September. Like, if you look back, I started the self-edits, I sent it to my critique partner, I did more self-edits, I sent it to my beta readers, I did more edits, and then on October 3rd, I sent it to my editor. That is an entirely different story. I don't want to go into the feels of the editor situation for the Jinni Key here. I have a whole video on that. I will link it below. Suffice it to say, she threatened to sue me. It was a very big ordeal, but I didn't know that yet in October. In October, I was still like, la da da, I'm okay, I'm surviving, and my editor will help me save this book, and it will be okay. And so I sent the Jinni Key to her on October 3rd. And so I was like, please, Jessie, help me. I'll take anything, whatever you could do. I was like, rip it to shreds. I think I sent her a text where I was like, it's a dumpster fire, help me. And so she did. And again, I'm not gonna go into all the details of the editor story and Jessie. Just being real, if Jessie hadn't been there, I would have had to change my pre-order date. I would have probably lost pre-order privileges for a year, and just had to be like, this book isn't ready. Like, I knew that it needed something, but I didn't know what. And that's why you have the beta readers and the editor and the critique partners to help you where you are stuck. And like, you do as much edits as you can on your own, and then you're like, somebody help me because I don't know what to do. Huge shout out to Jessie and Brittany. My critique partners have been lifesavers, you guys, and I can't even tell you how much it means to me. Again, I don't want to cry. I don't want to be crying all video. That was the most emotional time for me, and this entire writing this book, especially September, was crazy emotional and crazy stressful. And yet October 30th through the first few days of November were an absolute nightmare. And I'm so glad that I'm past that. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk too much about it in this video because this is supposed to be a happy video. But it was a really, really rough time for me, and I've never had such a difficult experience in my entire 3 years now. I think it's been almost exactly 3 years, because I published my first book, Evelyn's Number, on December 5th of 2017. 17? Oh, wow. I've only been publishing for 2 years. Well, that's weird. I feel like I've been doing this a lot longer. I guess I've only been doing this 2 years. Technically, I should count the year before because I got laid off in December of 2016, and that's when I kind of got serious about being an author and publishing. So technically, it is almost exactly 3 years. Give or take. I'm so easily sidetracked, you guys. It's not even funny. Anyway, the point is that in all of my 2 years of being a published author, this was an incredibly stressful situation. So moving on from that, I kind of got burnt out. I think ever since that point, it's only been a month since that happened. I'm just finally getting over being bitter about it, first of all, and trying to forgive and move on and move past it and let it go. And so I've spent the last month, I spent the few days after that pretty much being like, I have to rewrite a bunch of stuff. And I wrote an epilogue thanks to Jessie during that time. I fixed up the beginning quite a bit. I changed a huge factor in the Jinni key itself, like the actual key in the story from Jin. I changed how it worked, and I had to go through the entire story and change how it worked throughout the entire story. And I changed some character things. I changed the ending. It was some massive rewrites all over again. If anything, I have learned that I am very capable of writing and completing huge chunks of a book in a very short amount of time. I pushed myself at the beginning of November, and I wrote another, it's on the Nano website, I think it was 5,000 to 6,000, somewhere right in there, new words, and I deleted at least that much, if not more. Then I had to start the proofreading process. After all this drama, I actually ended up reading through the whole story again and doing a proofread on the computer, which I don't normally do. Normally I order a physical copy and do the proofread there. So I did the proofread on the computer instead, and I changed a lot. And I honestly think that if I didn't have deadlines and I didn't set dates like I do, I'd probably never consider a story done, because there's always more that I would want to do to it. And I think every author feels that way. And so at a certain point, you do have to call it. You have to be like, you know what? This is a good story. And I realized, like, I fixed so much, and the bones are solid now. And, you know, all the layers are solid now, and the foreshadowing is solid, and the beginning, setting up the character is solid, and the ending is solid, and when did this all come together? And so that's a good feeling. All right, so I was still looking at my email, and that brings us up to November 7th, and I have about 3 emails in a row that's like, the Jinni key is done, and then now the Jinni key is really done. And then I had to start going into the formatting, which is a headache, but honestly it's so technical that it's almost a relief, because it's like I've done the creative part and I feel good about it, and now I can do the formatting. And I had to format for a paperback, and then I had to format for an ebook, and I had to set it up on, I use 3 different platforms at this point. I put the Stolen Kingdom series on Draft to Digital and KDP for my ebook, so that it's wide and you can read the ebook anywhere pretty much online. And then I put the paperback on KDP as well once the release date happens, and on Ingram Spark, so that I can do pre-orders and bookstore signings and things like that. So I have to set it up in basically 4 different places. I don't know if this will be interesting to a lot of you guys because you're probably more interested in the writing process side of things, and I'll tell you the word count in a second for the first and final draft. But I just randomly, for whoever's interested about the publishing process side, weird things always happen in formatting and uploading. So I have a patron key in the back that I designed to look like the Jinni key that I envision. And I used the names of all my patrons to this date over the last year or so. And so that, for some reason, would not show up. It would show up like half on one page and half on the other. And I was like working with formatting and it took a while. So little things like that are pretty much all that you do in the last stages. I still edited when I got my proofreader's notes back. I would still tweak and make those changes up until the date that the book locks on the website. So it is officially locked, and after it releases, it'll unlock. So if I have to make changes, if I find that there are any big issues, I could change them, which is nice. But usually I'm like, that's a lot of work to upload again, change it all, reformat it all in the 3 different formats and put it on 4 different sites and make a PDF and all this and all that. So let's hope that there's nothing to change. And I again put the Cursed Hunter, the 3rd book, in the back as a pre-order. So I had to set up pre-orders and get that all figured out on, again, all the different sites. So 3 places, because you can't do paperbacks on KDP until release day. There's no pre-order feature on there. So I've got the Cursed Hunter all set up, which I will also link below if you're curious and you want to go check that out and find out what it's about. And I'm going to be revealing the cover for the Cursed Hunter tomorrow, so get ready guys, because that's going to be coming soon. Before I share the word count, I also wanted to mention my proofreaders, because I actually had 3 proofreaders when it all panned out. I had more, but they weren't able to because I was dumb, and I did the proofreading during NaNoWriMo when all the writer friends are busy. So I had for proofreaders my mom, Chris Cox. She was able to proofread the story for me in about a week. And then I had Rachel Martin, and I just want to shout out Rachel because she should be, if she's not already, I don't know, a professional proofreader. You guys, she's amazing. She catches so many details. I was like, how did everyone else miss that? What? How did that get there? I don't remember doing that. And it was like, wow, I'm so thankful that she read it. And also my critique partner, Brittany Wang, read the story again for like the 3rd time, you guys. The 3rd time she read it through, and she caught a lot as well. And Brittany is very good at catching big picture stuff. So she caught, I think, like 3 big plot holes that were still there. I'm not gonna comment on that. And so thank you to my proofreaders. That is amazing. I feel like having your outside perspective was such a relief, because I was like, I just don't know. I've read it too many times. I don't know if something's missing anymore. I literally can't see the problems anymore. And Brittany was doing NaNoWriMo in just 2 weeks because she had a trip to go on. And yet she still made time to read it for me. So thank you, Brittany. Seriously, I have the best critique partners in the world. You can't have them, they're mine. But I'm so thankful for you guys. That is the story of this book to date. And so I did write down the word counts because I thought you guys would be curious. The very first draft of the Jinni Key, the one that I wrote from October 1st to January 1st, was 59,246 words. So it was almost 60,000. And the final draft of the Jinni Key that I have just finished like yesterday is 71,290 words. So the difference there is about 12,000, almost exactly. But keep in mind that I removed at least that much, if not more. So I have probably added at the very least 20,000 words to this story, if not more like 30,000, because I deleted, again, a huge chunk of the ending. And that leads to today, December 3rd of 2019, where the Jinni Key is finally out in the world. It's very surreal. It feels weird, but I'm definitely gonna go out tonight and celebrate and do something amazing. Probably get a chocolate cake with my hubby, actually, and if I have my way, like watch a Netflix show and just veg out. That is honestly what I want to do more than anything, is just take a break from writing. I just want to celebrate and live in this moment of being excited about a book before I go on to worry about the next one. I hope you guys will like this book. It means the world to me that there are so many reviews already on Goodreads, and hopefully starting today there will be a bunch of reviews on Amazon as well. So I'm very excited to see those, and I hope you guys will love the story. I've worked so hard on it. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and let me know if you pre-ordered or ordered your copy today. I hope that you will, and obviously I put the links below in case you need them. So go check it out. Go check out the next book in the series, and definitely don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow I'm sharing a cover reveal for book 3. That's right. It's gonna be fun. All right, I will let you guys go. Thank you for watching this long video. I love sharing these kind of details, so if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and let me know, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.